And then a couple years later, business kept growing and growing, and they needed more permanent help. So they asked me if I would be interested in coming to that. And my wife, Christina, she loved it. That's definitely what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I knew it could be a very good career business.
Right.
So I took the chance and went to work with my wife, and, we had to see what was going to happen because, that not everybody can work with their spouse.
Hey Islanders, and welcome to episode 118 of the Camano Voice. Today I speak with the co-owner of Orchards Nursery. Please welcome Nick Sanders. Hi, I'm Brandon Erickson, and you're listening to the Camano Voice podcast, where I interview folks around Camano Island and beyond. If you want to stay up to date on events, businesses, and even hear a little history of this area, subscribe to this podcast and share with your friends. Thanks for listening. Hey Islanders, and welcome to another episode of the Camano Voice, where we release a new episode every Tuesday. How did your guys' week go? I'm recording this on the week of, it's October 29th today, so it's Friday. We're just about to roll into the Halloween weekend. I guess I'm just realizing it's already November. I'd love to hear from you guys. You can always message me on the Instagram at the Camano Voice, or you can reach out to me via email at voice@camanocommons.com. But I'd love to hear, what are your guys' holiday traditions, maybe favorite Thanksgiving traditions as we get closer to that. Actually, I guess we're closer to Halloween. So what are your Halloween traditions? What is your favorite costume you've done? That would be a fun one. So, send me a message through Instagram or via email. I'd love to hear you guys, what you guys do. So, anyways, today I speak with Nick Sanders from Orchards Nursery. Sorry about that. Yeah, so he's part of the second generation that is now taking over from the first generation that started Orchards Nursery. And they're kind of in that transition period, but, works with his wife, and then also works with his brother and sister-in-law. So, it's a multifaceted family business now with many members working together. And so we dive into that, and I think it's just a very interesting business to be able to do that because, I have experience doing so, and I know other people who have as well. And there are unique challenges with family businesses. There's massive positives, but there's also negatives that you guys have to deal with. And so I loved having this conversation, getting to hear his perspective, how they've worked through some of those things and decided kind of roles and positions for everybody, and how it's kind of going. And, we've all heard about the supply chain issues, and that we had a heat wave here in Washington earlier this year. So all of those things are affecting, nurseries and stuff like that. So we get into that as well, how that's affected their business. So we get into a lot of stuff. So anyways, without further ado, here's my conversation with Nick Sanders. Hey Islanders, and welcome to another episode of the Camano Voice. Today I'm here with one of the managers at Orchards Nursery. Welcome to the podcast, Nick Sanders.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. So before we get started, tell us a little bit about Nick.
I've lived here in Stanwood and Camano area my entire life. I'm 37, so I've seen the town go from the 1 or 2 stoplights to what it is today. It's definitely been an interesting trip. I went to school here my whole life. My wife and I actually graduated high school together. We didn't date or anything in high school, but we have been in town together for a very long time. Going on 11 years of marriage, and we've been together 15 years. We got two little girls.
Nice.
It's kind of cool being part of a community like that because my kids now have teachers that I had as a kid. You walk into a school and somebody recognizes you from 25, 30 years ago when you were a kid, and you're helping your kid into school. So it's kind of fun. That's pretty much what we do, though. We work and we have our family life. That's what's important to us.
Nice. Yeah, well, and I'm sure that kind of it is apparent with everything with the being a part of a family business and all of that. Like that's
definitely Yeah.
is a big, that's a big step. I think a lot of, that doesn't necessarily work out with every family.
No, and it has its challenges for sure. I mean, anybody that tells you it doesn't is lying to you. I mean, you gotta roll with it though. What do you
Yeah.
you let it get to you too much, and then you just won't move forward.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I think is interesting in this area, considering or with the school system specifically, is that a lot of schools and stuff, you don't necessarily like the teachers and stuff. You see them, like the kids see them at school and stuff. But if it's a bigger community or city, like that's probably where they only see them. Whereas in the Stanwood Camano community, it's so small that you most likely run into them at QFC or Higgins or the Plaza. Like you see the teachers out and about as well as in the classroom.
A lot of them shop with us and they say, "How are the girls doing? How's even during the school shutdown, we opted for a Saratoga program for our oldest daughter, so she didn't actually go to the school last year." Even some of the teachers from the actual school, when they'd come in the nursery, they'd say, "Hey, how's she doing? How's everything going?" It's because they know.
Yeah.
The community knows who belongs to who,
Yeah.
There's a genuine interest there.
Yeah. No, I always think that's a really positive thing in this community. Awesome. So what are some of the biggest changes you've seen over 37 years of growing up in this area?
Oh, man, it's the housing communities have far started to outweigh the farming. I mean, it's been, we used to get stuck behind pea viners every summer. There aren't any pea viners left. I worked at Twin City Foods in the summer through high school.
Yeah.
I don't think that job even exists anymore there.
Yeah.
It's different, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's brought a lot of commerce to the community. I personally don't think crime has grown as much as the community has, like you would maybe think.
Right.
And it's a lot of good people. A lot of people that either work from home or commute, but they're good people that live here and spend money here and involve themselves in the community, and so yeah, it's gotten definitely far bigger than I think anybody imagined it would.
Yeah.
But I don't see a negative in it.
Right. So. Well, I think I know Camano, has grown a lot, but it's got limits on how big it can get just because it's an island. But I think Stanwood's been surprising to me how much it's grown over the time of me being here.
Yeah.
Because it kind of like, I don't know, it was kind of a little bit lower, and like most people didn't think like, oh, I want to live in Stanwood. But more recently, like Stanwood's really evolved a lot. It looks really nice when you're driving around through it.
There's been a lot of good changes. There's a lot of really nice new businesses that have opened because people that have moved here, that maybe those businesses don't exist if those people don't move here.
Right.
So yeah. I think I've seen a lot of good stuff. Definitely far more good than bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice. How was it? Because Twin City Foods is one that everyone sees it, everyone knows about it. But now it's a lot. Like they've moved a lot of their stuff out of this area now. They've got, I think, some offices in town still, but the rest of it's basically someone else's.
Yeah.
What was that like back then? Was it? I mean, it was really a big central focus of Stanwood. What was it like back then? I guess.
When I worked there, it was great. I did the night shift, so we worked it was 7 at night till 5 in the morning or something like that. I worked with buddies. I made friends while we worked there. It was, it was a great way to make, the money you needed in the course of 4 weeks, 5 weeks maybe. You made good money to pay your car insurance, to pay your gas, to, whatever you had to do. It was a great way to make high school money.
Yeah.
And they treated you well. They paid you good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of long-term people who work there that, I don't know what happened to their jobs when they left, but that's kind of a sad part of the whole thing. There's a lot of people that work there for a long time.
Yeah.
So, but from my perspective of being a high school employee there, it was great.
Yeah.
And I don't know that today's high school kids would have any interest in working in the Twin City Foods plant. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be a thing.
Right. Well, and like labor laws and all that stuff have obviously evolved a lot over the last 30 years or so, but and then also just the matter of like the type of work and stuff. Yeah, no, it's always a fascinating thing. That building I've never actually gone inside of like the Twin City production area.
I remember when the first one actually burned down.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually I don't know how to remember how much of the building, but a lot of the building burned down, and it shut off the highway, and there was, families stuck on Camano and other parts of their family stuck in Stanwood because they couldn't get back and forth.
Wow.
And that was, I don't remember when, sometime in probably the mid 90s or something, I would imagine. I don't remember exact. But
Okay.
yeah, there was actually, I remember a big push after that happened to create an alternate way on and off Camano Island after that happened in that building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think the Stanwood Camano Bridge is interesting because it's had so many evolutions, but in every one of its evolutions, it's never gotten an actual second or third lane. It's always just gotten wider.
There are bigger shoulders on it. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is helpful, but
I don't know, logistically, there is a way to put a second alternate route on and off of there. So
yeah, not unless you connect somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So you grew up in this area. Once you were graduating high school, what was your plan after that?
My plan my entire childhood was to go into law enforcement. That's what I always wanted to do. I was always told I had the demeanor for it. So I pursued that. I went to community college for that. I went after that. It got to a point where I was at the point to getting real serious about it. When I started doing that, it started moving towards you had to have at least 2-year degree in order to advance through law enforcement. And then to a certain point, you had to have a 4-year degree to advance.
Okay.
It seemed like it was moving away from you can't just sign up, go to the academy, and become a cop and advance. You need to have degrees.
Yeah.
So I started going to school for it, and I knew some people that were in law enforcement, and I talked to them more and more. And the way that the respect for the officers was going, the stress that it brings on a family.
Yeah.
I had to readjust what I wanted to do because I didn't want to bring that to a relationship, to a marriage, to a whatever. So I changed course and went to work full time and moved on from there and just let life come to me.
Yeah.
I determined that I wanted to make sure that my relationship with we weren't together then, but a wife, whenever I got married, that I didn't bring something like that into a marriage because I don't think everybody can handle that, and I don't think that's anybody's fault.
Right.
But I recognized it as something I didn't want to have to deal with, so I moved on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think, I've interviewed Luke Plumbeck, who's a deputy here, and also like Levon, who's the fire chief, and those type lines of work. And then I've had friends and family who have been in that, and it's such it's really, it has to be a calling, both not just for the husband that's doing or the spouse that's doing it, but also the other spouse that's at home, because there's stress on both sides.
Yeah, and I don't know how you can leave that stress at the door.
Right.
I mean, everybody brings stress home from them, regardless of they say they do or don't.
Yeah.
It's just a lot heavier in some jobs, and so that was a decision I made at the time because having a family and stuff was more important to me. So I decided to give up on that one.
Yeah.
And pursue something else.
Yeah. So what did you end up doing for work then?
Actually, I worked for Skagit Farmers for 12 years. I worked at the feed store downtown here. I ran the feed store there for a little while.
Okay.
Made all kinds of good friends and became really good buddies with the director of HR. And he called me up one day and said, "Hey, man, we want you to come drive propane trucks and install tanks, and we'll pay for your CDL, and we'll pay for the whole thing." So I moved on and worked for the same company, but I started delivering propane and installing propane systems and tanks. And, so a whole completely opposite career field. And I had a lot of fun. I made some great friends that I still talk to on the regular now that have moved on to their own businesses that have helped me out, and I've helped them out over the years. And that was good stuff. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually worked for Skagit Farmer Supply when I was in high school or transitioning from high school to college. And to this day, I've worked professional jobs. I was a mechanical engineer for a while. So I've worked in, professional jobs. I've also worked in a lot of other jobs. And Skagit Farmer Supply, still to this day, when I think back of that, they treated their team so well. They had so many things in place to treat their team Their Christmas party they used to throw was just incredible. Like I still have not worked at a business that throws it like they did at that level.
Yeah. Those parties were fun, and we used to do like retreats in the summertime. We'd go on these company retreats, and it was good. I really enjoyed it. I would probably still be working there if the nursery thing didn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have any serious intention of leaving.
Yeah.
It just happened that way.
Right.
So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, so you were working at Skagit. Then during that time, is that when you started dating and everything?
Yeah, my wife and I started dating in 2017 or something like that. I was working at the feed store downtown. We had some mutual friends, and we had just started all hanging out, and her and I started dating, and here we are 15 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, and she, we moved in together in our apartment. I was delivering propane and doing that for a couple years, bought our first house, got married. And as soon as we got back from our honeymoon, she went back to work for her parents.
Okay.
So her parents, Mark and Lisa, own Orchards Nursery.
Yep.
And they started it from nothing. It was all farmland there. None of that other stuff existed.
Yeah.
And over the course of time, as things got busier and busier, they needed more permanent help.
Yeah.
Just having seasonal help during the busy times just wasn't cutting it anymore.
Right.
So she went back to work there in the summer of 2010.
Okay.
And then a couple years later, business kept growing and growing, and they needed more permanent help. So they asked me if I would be interested in coming to that. And my wife, Christina, she loved it. That's definitely what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I knew it could be a very good career business.
Right.
So I took the chance and went to work with my wife, and, we had to see what was going to happen because,
yeah,
that not everybody can work with their spouse.
Right.
And no fault of the other one. You just have different personalities,
Right.
different whatever. And yeah, we've made it work. We haven't had problems, and it's been a blast ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what was the decision like that for you? Because there's obviously a lot of implications in that. You're giving up, on one hand, you're giving up your career of what you had built, of what you were going down. You're also bringing together the income, like they're all coming from one spot, so you're no longer diversified on that.
Right.
And then, of course, you're moving into a family business that your in-laws are the owners, working with your wife. How did that all the decision-making go into that?
It was nerve-wracking. I mean, at the time, we had our oldest daughter was only a year old. We'd only been in our house for like 3 years, so we had a mortgage, we had car payments, we had, and we were going into a family business industry that was weather and housing market dependent.
Yeah.
For a lot of the part, and the area was starting to come out of the recession. Wasn't fully out. It was coming out of the recession, so there was some chances to take there. It wasn't easy. We did a lot of talking and stuff. We weren't worried about the money part. We weren't worried about that part. We'd figure that out.
Yeah.
The biggest part was, are we going to be able to work together without getting mad at each other, or without ruining a marriage over work? It's not worth it. If that's going to be an issue, then we need to keep our own separate careers, and we can't make work a marriage problem, right? So we decided we'd go for it, and
yeah,
everything's worked out for the better,
Nice.
So we did it for the potential for our family and for our kids, and as of right now, it was the right choice.
Yeah. So with the your in-laws, then when they started it, was it just a I guess, like, how were they ever planning on making it as big as it is, or was it just kind of a side business?
Dreams.
Yeah.
I don't think they were 100% sure when those dreams would come to fruition, or if they would in this community. So the nursery opened in 2004.
Okay.
This area has erupted since then.
Right.
I mean, there's houses, most of the houses that are here now probably weren't even here in 2004.
Right.
So very fortunate. They brought a lot of knowledge with them. This isn't their first run with plants. They both worked for a large wholesale nursery selling to big box stores and stuff, and district managers and sales reps and stuff. So they, how to market it, how to price it, how to do all that stuff. They already knew how to do that.
Yeah.
now you have to get a community back on you
Yeah.
to come to you, to purchase from you and return purchasing from you.
Right.
It's kind of a niche spot though, because the next closest are about 30 minutes in either direction.
Yeah.
And that location on the highway is key.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get on and off Camano Island without driving past us.
Right.
So I don't think they recognized that at the time as that location is going to be one of the biggest keys to the entire business.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Was that because that can also be like sometimes people trying to turn out of that and stuff. Have they been? How has that kind of evolved over time? Because
it hasn't evolved at all. It's just as difficult, if not harder now than it was before. The most traffic during the stay-at-home order when people weren't driving. Yeah, we'd pull out of there at night and be like, we can just pull right out onto the highway. There isn't anybody here. I mean, there's times we all go left. We all live up in the Cedar Home, Stanwood community area, so we don't turn right to come on the island. So we have to cross traffic when we leave. Sometimes you'll wait, 10, 12 minutes to get out on the highway. And we were hoping when they redid that highway like they did, there was going to be a turn lane added or something. We're looking forward to seeing the final idea for the expansion with the roundabouts and the alternate route going north and where all that lands. Because a couple of those plans could really benefit us for coming in and out of there. Right. Possibly even a way to get a truck route into us as opposed to using the main entrance, that kind of stuff. So I made sure to fill out that survey and pick the one that we wanted and that kind of stuff, because there's a couple of those that, they all right alongside our property, and a couple of them cross our property in the back. Okay. So some of those could drastically benefit our customers for ease of getting in and out of there for sure. Yeah. So nice. Other than that, it's just gotten harder, so, but unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it.
Right. Yeah. It's all, you're waiting on the city and the state to push their stuff.
Yeah. We don't really have any say in it. Yeah. Which is unfortunate. We tried to have some say in it, and, it's just not going to get anywhere. So, right. Yeah. Sounds like something's in the works. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So what is everyone's role? And I guess this is a two-part question. First, what is everyone's role of the people that work there? Sure. And then how important was that to really identify whose everyone's role was?
So my in-laws, Mark and Lisa, who started it and ran it for all those years. Mark has retired as of this last June. He still comes in periodically here and there with people on vacation and stuff, but for the most part, he's retired. Mm-hmm. My mother-in-law, Lisa, she is looking at possibly retiring next year. We'll see. Okay. So basically the four of us, which is myself and my wife and my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, and his wife, are going to be taking over the business. Okay. So my brother-in-law and my wife will be, technically running the business, but all four of us will be running the business. Right. It's a family partnership. Yeah. So my brother-in-law does all the books. Okay. And he orders all the hard goods and the chemicals and the soils and the decor and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. My sister-in-law is in charge of the house plants, and then she helps out with the decor stuff, and she does the vegetables and herbs during the spring and summer. Okay. And then my wife and I do all of the plants. So I do all the trees and the shrubs. I do all the landscape orders. We help people design their gardens. We answer all those questions, identifying plants, all that kind of stuff. Okay. My wife does all the annuals and perennials and general knowledge. She just knows so much. She likes to jump in when I'm not sure what the question is and answer is and give the answer. And, so it's fun. But yeah, her and I, we love the plants. That's what we do. I love Japanese maples. I have my own collection of them. Nice. So selling that kind of stuff to me, when I get to talk to people about that kind of stuff, it's fun. I enjoy talking to people, and yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of how we broke it all down, and seems to work out for us.
Nice. So moving into it, then, was that something that that you guys kind of just fall into that as far as positions and stuff, or was there more of more intention behind that?
Well, the original intention was for Christine and I to kind of take over the whole thing originally, and then her brother wanted to come join, so we had him come in, and then his wife wanted to come join, so we had her come in. Christine and I quickly learned that we wanted to be working outside with the plants.
Okay.
That's what we wanted to do.
Yep.
So we took that whole project on and made that our responsibility. And Dan, my wife's brother, my brother-in-law, he's good with the numbers. He's good with the books. He's good with that kind of stuff. So that was an easy no-brainer on who should be taking care of that if we're not going to hire and pay an outside accountant.
Right.
So that was an easy transition. And my sister-in-law, Cabrina, she took a real big liking to the houseplants and stuff. And we didn't have a huge houseplant selection. We've been building that over the years, and she's built it pretty big. We got a pretty good houseplant thing going on, so that's really worked out. She knows what she's doing. So yeah, everybody's just kind of fallen into a place that interests them, and we try to focus on that so that we can get the right answers to people. And so much to know and learn that it's almost overwhelming to try to know it all.
Right.
So
yeah. Very cool. So when did your brother-in-law and sister and his wife, I guess, when did they end up joining the business then?
I think Dan came by 4, maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
Something like that. Yep. And then my sister-in-law, Cabrina, she came, I think it's like 3 or 4 years ago now.
Okay.
Yeah. So my wife's been back there since 2010.
Okay.
And I came in 2014.
Okay.
So yeah.
She was working there for quite a while before you ended up.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. There were some years in there, and they were working on extending the business and stuff out, and I had a pretty good job that was making pretty good money, and we were moving along, and then business started getting busier. So
Nice.
Yeah.
So was there a lot of intention as you guys moved in this direction? Because I think with family business, and now you're working with your brother-in-law as well and his wife, so you've got all these different pieces. What was kind of I guess, how did the intentions and everything go through with Mark and Lisa passing that on and working towards that direction?
We always knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
It was basically just up to them when they decided they wanted to be retired. They've had so many years of doing it, and they have so much knowledge that we basically just tried to tap in and learn that knowledge for as long as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And they, tried to wait until they felt we knew what we needed to know.
Yeah.
And then we can advance ourselves from there.
Yeah.
And obviously, because it's a family business and, they live 3 minutes from me, anytime we need something, it's just a phone call away or. So, yeah, the intention was always to transition that way, and, that'll be happening in the next near future at some point. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that like exciting, stressful, like all the things?
Both.
Yeah.
I'm excited. We're excited. All of us are excited for them. They've worked so many years. I mean, my father-in-law, Mark, worked almost 7 days a week all those years. Lisa worked at least 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. I mean, it was them running 4 or 5 seasonal people through the year. I mean, it was a lot of work and a lot of time, and that was just time from being open.
Yep.
That's not counting all the time before hours and after hours, and there's a lot of that in there too. So I'm excited. They've built something that we can continue going, and they get to retire and watch us keep it going and keep it in the family. The name is staying on the side of the building.
Yep.
That's the name they built, and that's the name we're going to keep there.
Yeah.
That's important. That's important to me, and it's important to us that, it's not going to somebody else who just is buying it for the property and changing the name, changing the values, changing so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited. It's the nerves I don't think are necessarily there so much because it's been several years of everybody working together, and it's like the other ones are just on an extended vacation kind of deal, and so. Yeah.
Very cool. So what are some of the events, like annual events that you guys have throughout the calendar year?
Well, the past 2 years, you haven't been able to do much of anything for annual events. We used to do a big anniversary sale with hot dogs and a big, huge sale with just about everything on sale and give out free stuff with raffle tickets and all that. And we really haven't been able to do that the past couple of years.
Yeah.
We talked about maybe doing that this last year, and it just didn't feel right at the time to go back into that. And it may be something that just doesn't happen again. That may just be everybody just may have moved on from those kinds of things. We'll see. But we've always talked about trying to do some other kind of something in the summer or the fall. We'll see. We haven't narrowed that down yet.
Yeah.
Business is so crazy for 3 months that you hit summer and fall, and you're kind of like, all right, let's need a little bit of a break.
Right.
So we'll see. It seems like maybe the community here isn't too super interested in big events like that for us. We'll see. Something we've talked about, something we're trying to come up with something for.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think when it comes to events, events are so weird because one, like there's a lot of energy and stuff put into actually putting them on and getting them built out. And usually for sure the first one, but even after that, the first couple can sometimes be not like massive. They're just like you put all the work in as if they were big, but they're not.
Yeah, you're probably 3 to 5 years out from seeing a huge turnout.
Right. So it takes that time to build it up. And then, there are events that like sometimes you realize, no, they're just not for this community. Like people just aren't interested.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just takes time, and then you have to juggle all of those things. And there's definitely an art to putting on events and stuff like that.
Yeah, we started getting rolling with doing some classes. And then the original COVID shutdown, we had to cancel classes.
Yeah.
And we didn't run those again this last year. We've talked about maybe trying to do something for the following year. We're not sure. We haven't decided yet.
Yep.
It kind of seems like more if we just let everybody know that they can they can ask us questions at any time.
Yeah.
I mean, I answer emails and Facebook messengers all day, through the night. I mean, there's... so I'm not 100% sure if actual classes are as beneficial as letting everybody know we're always available for questions. So something we're thinking about again.
Yeah.
Everything's had to change the past 2 years, so we're kind of unsure even what this next year is going to bring.
Yeah.
Maybe this winter causes another big shutdown or another, who knows. So
yeah.
Spend too much time, energy planning something just to exit out again,
Yes.
So
yeah, no, we've definitely had our handful of those things.
Yeah,
you set it up and then they can't happen, so they go away.
So we'll see.
Yeah. So then, how has I know COVID from our business perspective, like there's a ton of supply issues and stuff like that. But then, like in the nursery business, there's also was the massive heat wave which affected. How has supplies and stuff been for you guys?
Supplies have been interesting. This next year, from the scheme of things, from the sounds of it, it's going to be even more interesting. So, plants aren't a manufactured item.
Right.
You can't hire more people to build more plants.
Right.
I mean, they take X amount of time to root, to grow, to all that. It doesn't matter how many people you have. The plant still takes time to grow from a cutting or a whatever into a retail-sized plant.
Mm-hmm.
Sales have been so high the past 2 years across the industry that everybody's behind.
Yeah.
I mean, we do tie-offs. We call them tie-offs. You order plants in July, August, September for the following year.
Okay.
So the wholesalers know what kind of inventory they need to have.
Yep.
And we're already getting stuff back. There's a lot of stuff that just isn't going to be available in the spring, might be available in the summer of 2022, that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
People have been in it for 30, 40, 50 years are saying we've never seen this happen before, and we can't grow it any faster. So, yeah, it's where having a long-term relationship with the wholesalers, buying them from them for so many years, having your account in good standing, all that kind of stuff really pays off because it gets you ahead of, unfortunately, it gets you ahead of some of the new nurseries, or it gets you ahead of, unfortunately, maybe somebody that's struggling and their account isn't 100% up or something.
Yeah.
But when you only got X number of plants to sell, they got to go to somebody.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
we've been fortunate that, with the standing that we have and the relationships that we have, that, we'll fend it off as much as we possibly can.
Yeah. Do you guys have like, not contingency because you can't like go buy plants somewhere else, but like, do you guys have, I'm sure this has been a conversation with you guys. Are you guys looking ahead at like what are ways we can diversify or like adjust or things like that?
Yeah, a little bit, I suppose, but you can't do too much because you're waiting on the plants to grow.
Yeah.
So we bought more stuff this last summer and fall that we're planning on wintering over because we know that stuff may not be available next year.
Okay.
Ordering in much larger quantities possibly for the first run of the springs. That way maybe that stuff will last us longer through the spring. Mm-hmm. Possibly growing a few more of our own things, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's almost in a order more than you ever would have and hope you get a percentage of it. Right. Kind of deal. Yep. So.
Yeah. And then just so everyone's clear, on Orchards Nursery, like there's the buildings and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. The farmland behind it, is that you guys or is that someone else's?
That's our land.
That's your land.
But
okay.
we lease that out to be farmed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So then Orchards Nursery really is just the buildings in that first area.
Yeah, the business of it. Yeah. We own the whole property, but yeah, the business part of it's just that front portion that you see.
Nice.
Yep.
Very cool. So now that you guys are, moving in that transition period of, taking over to the next generation, mm-hmm. What do you guys see as the future of Orchards Nursery?
Well, there's been talks about making it into some sort of a destination area. I'm not 100% sure if that's the right move or not, but it's definitely something that we should look into and talk about and determine. Mm-hmm. A lot of plant people travel, and they travel distances to come see nurseries and come find plants. And, like I told you before, I collect Japanese maples myself. Mm-hmm. I know of people that come from distance to come talk to me about maples because they know I'm a collector of them, and they enjoy talking to people who are collectors of them.
Yeah.
Social media has driven business to us from reaches far out of our community. We've had people come up from Lacey to buy trees. We have stuff from Bellingham. We have people from the, Island County from over in Oak Harbor and stuff coming over. So having more to attract more of that, especially something when they get there to like, oh, wow, this was a good trip. I'm glad we moved over this way, and came here. So I think some of that too is having the plants that maybe people don't see in other places. Yeah. We try to get stuff that not everybody has, along with the stuff that everybody has, because that's the meat and potatoes, right? Right. But, plant people, there's a lot of them that collect. There's a lot of them that want something they haven't seen before. Mm-hmm. And if you can do that, you just went up a notch in their scale. Yeah. So that's something there that we're, discussing, and yeah. We'll see what happens with that. Cool. I'm not sure, what that moves into, but
right. Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, I like to end every podcast with some rapid fire questions. Sure. So the first one is, what purchase of $100 or less have you enjoyed the most in the last?
Oh man, that one's tough. I actually asked my wife about that because, man, $100 doesn't get you a whole heck of a lot,
Not with inflation right now.
We bought groceries the other day. We were pretty excited about that. $100 or so. I don't know. We, like I said, we basically just work and we have our family life. So, we buy stuff for the kids and, that kind of stuff. But, we have a fairly physical job. Yeah. And so, we enjoy trying to take care of ourselves. So we started doing massages and, got a hot tub to sit in to try to relieve pain and stuff. So purchases like that is more what we really enjoy. Yeah. The $100 stuff is, for us, is most of the time stuff that's needed for the house, Yeah, I asked her, I said, what do you bought something that's less than $100 you really enjoy? We're both like, I don't know if I said groceries. She thought groceries was a good one. So.
Yeah. No, I love that one because it's a lot of like $100. It is. It's one of those things where it's like it's not gonna be like your new car or your whatever. Like it's something that you're probably using on a fairly regular basis. That's maybe not something that's like that exciting, but like I've gotten like people's hats or watches or kitchen gadgets.
Well, see, I was going to say like a new cool tool that I bought, but I haven't told my wife about all the tools that I bought recently, so I don't want to wrap myself out over this, It's kind of a setup question.
Your secret's safe here.
All right.
All right. Pretend you have a friend coming from out of town. What would their first day look like here?
This is a fun community to be a part of, too. So, they're staying in my house. Obviously, when they wake up, we'd have something probably to do with the kids, especially during the weekday. We walk our kids to school, and we hold hands with the kids on the walk, and we talk about what's going on with the day and stuff. If they're staying in my house, they're probably really good friends or family members, and I would love them to know what our family life is like, in the mornings, and then. After that, I would take them around Camano Island here to the parks, down to the waters and stuff.
Yeah.
Last year when we couldn't really travel anywhere, we took like 2 weeks throughout the summer, and we actually toured our own area, which we hadn't done in a long time.
Yeah.
We got the Discover Pass and went to all the parks and took the dogs on the walks through the trails and stuff. And a lot of stuff I wish I would have done a lot earlier to see. Yeah. So I would definitely take them through all those parks, through all down to the beaches and, have lunch down there and that kind of stuff. There's some beautiful spots out here that get their recognition, but I think they're, a lot of times underappreciated. I just think a lot of people are just so busy.
Right.
I mean, I didn't go there for years because I just didn't have time to go out there, so that being shut down and not being able to travel kind of forced me to go do that. I'm glad I did. So I would definitely take them on those.
Yeah.
And then for lunch, I would absolutely stop at Mi Cocina and get tacos.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good spot.
Some steak tacos. Yeah.
All right. Who is an interesting or fascinating person in this community that I should interview next?
There's being here my whole life. There's so many people in this community that have built businesses that are solely purposed to better their friends and families and their communities. Giving you one is really difficult. Like the Staley mechanical guy, Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, works so hard. And Shannon, I went to school with Shannon, and they're amazing people, so much for their community. As far as I'm concerned, very community-based. Answer the phone, you're ready to go. There's his name's Mark. They own that Farm Fresh Northwest Meat Company.
Yes.
Amazing people. We've been getting their stuff for like 2 years now. That's another local family that's just doing something awesome. There's so much of that in this area. I think there's more than people even know that.
Right.
There's a lot of trades, a lot of contractors, a lot of top-notch quality people working right here that are more than happy to help you, and they're more than fair, and their cost is equal, if not maybe a little less, or maybe it's a little higher, but the quality of work is higher to go with it too, and
And I've been surprised the amount of people in the community, especially the subcontractors and things like that have come out on a midnight run to fix something in a building or things like that. And you call the bigger companies, and they're like, okay, so like this is shut down. We can't open until this is fixed. And they're like, yep, we can get you next week.
No,
that won't work.
Like Mike from Stilly last February, the heater in our big greenhouse decided on the coldest first snow day of the year to just die.
Yeah.
He was out there with me at 9 o'clock at night in the snow trying to figure that thing out.
Yeah.
He didn't have to do that.
Right.
I mean, that's because he knows who I am. He knows I'm part of the community. He knows that was something that needed to be done.
Yeah.
That was the drive behind making that call happen.
Right.
Was that fact right there.
Yeah.
You call somebody out of the phone book and they're going to say, well, you're on emergency charge line. You're this much more, it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. I hope more people buy more from our own local contractors, our own local suppliers, our own. There's some really, really good stuff around here.
Yep. Very cool. And lastly, what piece of advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
I think every 20-year-old every probably 18 to 22-year-old at some point in time goes, why am I just not seeing the results of what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see that one friend come back from going to a 4-year university and they land a good job and they're making good money. You're like, why am I not seeing those results?
Yeah.
You know, I went through some of that. I've always worked hard. I've always been honest. I've always, kept my head up and, all that. And I think I'd go back if I was 20 and I would tell myself that that's the important part.
Yeah.
Later in life, that will be the key to all success.
Yeah.
If you're honest and you work hard and you do what you need to do, people are gonna know it and they're gonna rely on you, or they're going to, promote you through. They're going to do those things.
Yeah.
Because they know that you're dependable to accomplish it.
Yeah.
I think it's probably even worse now than then, because social media tells you should be something.
Right.
That not everybody should be that.
Right.
You need to figure out what you need to be and do that. And that'll get you somewhere.
Right.
It takes time, but that'll get you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what I would tell myself, is figure that out a little earlier.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think it's great advice. And I think that aspect of just being consistent and doing a good job, just putting your best foot forward on everything that you're doing. It's the slow road, but it gets you to where you need to get and where you want to go.
Yeah. And then when you do realize it, the light bulb goes off. You're like, oh man,
yeah,
if I would have known that all those years earlier, or, and when other things are shoved at you so often, how can you blame them for thinking they're not doing enough?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast
thank
today.
you.
All right. And Islanders, I will talk to you on the next one. Well, a big thank you to Nick Sanders for joining me on the podcast today, and thank you for listening. If you haven't already, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us be found by other Islanders like yourself. And for more information on this episode, you can go to CamanoCommons.com/podcast. That's CamanoCommons.com/podcast. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.